All right, hello everybody. Hello S, hello Joe. Welcome back to Witch on the Holy Night / Mahoyo. Last time, woo, we had some big stuff going on with the whole first Soujirou getting fucking sliced to ribbons, and then Aoko getting so pissed off at that she unlocks her true magic ability to actually turn back time for Soujirou, which has some crazy ass consequences that I don't quite comprehend, but basically due to some things with causality and shit, she increased entropy, or I think by a non-insignificant amount. And also she took powers from herself 20 years in the future and just completely curb stomped Touko with some crazy ass uses of time manipulation I haven't seen before. And that was such a cool way to become a dodge tank. It's like, oh man. But with Soujirou back, it's finally time to take care of Touko, and learning from each other, Aoko decides to spare her, but with the curse that if she ever comes back to Misaki, she'll turn into a frog. Hello, Upsis, and welcome to the stream. And that is where we have left off. If this is not the final stream, I will be very surprised. Outside, the fully bloomed white flower petals floated one by one into the night. Standing among the belly of petals, Alice gazed up into the sky. The blossoms gathered into a cloud, then slowly vanished as though falling asleep. Soon, not a single flower would remain, and the clearing would return to a snowy tundra. The magic had ended. In a matter of minutes, the past would return to its rightful place, along with the time shared between the boy and the girl. Yeah, that's right, they wouldn't even remember it. Oh god, only Alice would remember. Oh, fuck berries. God damn it. I think Touko will also remember. I don't, but I think it's Soujirou and Aoko that won't remember this whole thing. Fuck berries. The old school building was still. Alice embraced the silence and patiently waited. After a while, Soujirou emerged from the building, and Alice released a puff of white breath. A small sigh of relief. It was over. Soujirou approached, carrying Aoko, cradling her in his arms. Was she asleep? Her eyes were closed and she seemed peaceful. Her hair and limp body dangled like a silk drape. She looked just like Sleeping Beauty. Oh!
待っていてくれたんだ、アリス。
So you decided to wait for us, Alice? He said, holding Aoko with little effort. Alice nodded.
トウコさんはどうなったの?
What happened to Touko?
いや、よくわからないけど、トウコさんは帰ったよ。
To be honest, I don't really know. But she's gone.
青崎が言うには、そう簡単に解除できない呪いをかけたから、向こう10年は三崎市には入ってこれないって。
Azaki said she placed a really strong curse on her so she wouldn't come back to Misaki for 10 years.
その後、トウコさんが尻尾を巻くのを仁王立ちで見届けて、見えなくなったらそのまま倒れたんだ。
After that, she stood and watched Touko run away until she was out of sight. Then she collapsed. Hello, Saw. Welcome to the stream. Alice's response was brief, as if she was wondering if things were really so simple. She seemed more concerned about Touko than Aoko, which made Soujirou concerned about Alice and Aoko's relationship more than anything.
それはともかくとして
Okay, well, anyway,
青子はどうなっているんだろ
what's going on with Aoko?
He asked nonchalantly as he looked at Aoko breathing deeply in her sleep.
矛盾と清純を合わせているのね。
It looks like the variables are still balancing out.
彼女の時間は今の時間とは異なってしまったから。歯車を合わせるまで目は覚めないわ。
Since her time diverged from our current time, she likely won't open her eyes until all the gears line up again. He's doing that meme. Soujirou nodded in understanding, very clearly still not comprehending a word that Alice had just said.
Doesn't get it at all.
うなんか拍子抜けしたよ
It's a bit of an anticlimax.
結局トウコさんと青崎どっちが勝ったのかよくつかめない
I mean, Aoko clearly won, I think.
I can't tell if Ozaki or Miss Toko won.
そうね。魔術師の争いには明確な点数はつけられないから。どちらが強いかで勝負はつかないわ。
Right. Mage battles aren't always cut and dry. It's not always just about who is more powerful.
トウコさんの大目的が青崎の魔法の解明なら、魔法を使わされた時点で青子の負けよ。
If Toko's objective was to discover out the Aozaki's true magic, then Aoko lost the moment she used it.
その後のいざこざは、凱旋する勝者を夜道で襲ったようなものだし。
Everything that happened after was merely the triumphant winner being accosted by the loser. Alice said as she turned her sights to the forest. Even Soujirou could tell this was Alice's way of saying, "Let's go home."
そうだね青崎もアリスもこのままじゃ風邪をひく
Yeah, let's go. At this rate, you'll both catch a cold.
ああそれと青崎がトウコさんに呪いをかけるとき何かしてたんだけど
Oh, I almost forgot. When Ozaki cursed Miss Toko, she did something else.
Soujirou trailed off, hoping Alice would tell him what it was, but a stony and somewhat affected gaze was her response.
見たのしずきくん。
Hello, doors. Welcome to the stream. Did you watch, Suzuki?
いや青崎が出てけって
Nope. Ozaki told me to get out.
そう。それで、青子はどんな呪いをかけたの？
Good. Did she say what curse she placed on her?
カエルがどうとか
Something about her turning her into a frog?
Soujirou's explanation made Alice's expression darken. Aoko was still a long way away from learning any sort of polymorph spells.
そう。
That's... Her thoughts prevented her from finishing the sentence. In actuality, it was perfectly within Aoko's abilities, considering where she was in time at that moment. As Aoko had said, Touko would not be able to dispel the curse for 10 years. And the Aoko of this time had not the ability to use such a curse. Which meant that Touko did not have anyone to rebound the curse to. No matter how much she researched dispelling powerful curses, she could not do it with the Aoko of this timeline.
青子がトウコさんにつけたのは切り傷ぐらいだから、しずきくんが心配するようなことはないわ。
Aoko only cut Touko a little bit. It's nothing for you to worry about.
青子にしては、随分と生ぬるい処置だけど。
I expected her to do something much worse. After a slightly unsettling remark, Alice quietly began to walk. Soujirou followed her, Aoko in his arms. Together they left the clearing and moved into the forest. As they did, Soujirou abruptly froze.
Shizuki-kun,
Suzuki? He looked back towards the old school building's field with a strained expression. Was it homesickness he felt? Though this was only his second time seeing it, he had a nostalgic feeling, like he would never be back. It looked like a child saying goodbye to an old toy that was to be thrown away. Seeing his expression, Alice felt a hint of sympathy and chided herself.
あの荒れ地がどうかした?
Something on your mind? She asked him, watching the flowery garden fade into a snowy field. Soujirou shook his head.
なんとなく知っている場所に似てる気がして。
Not really. It's just... I feel like I know that place.
おかしいな。やってきた時はそんな気はしなかったのに。
So he's had some memory stolen, only adding to his mystery.
It's weird, right? I didn't feel that way when I got here.
He stood staring at the tundra for what seemed like an eternity, reluctant to leave. If she left him there, he would still be gazing at it by morning, probably even longer. But there was no point in doing that. In the end, Alice was the only one who would remember the beautiful scenery he yearned for.
ここはその場所にそんなに似てる?
Does it really look that familiar?
全然似てない。面影すら皆無だ。
Not at all. Not one bit of it.
ならそれは気の迷いよ。
Then it's just your imagination. Soujirou nodded at Alice's harsh conclusion. He smiled slightly, deciding it was pointless to want something that did not exist.
そうだね。多分幻を見ていたんだ。
Yeah. Maybe I saw it in a dream.
あれは一度幸福だった時の夢だった。
Oh God! Oh wow!
A dream where I was happy.
Severing the ties that bound him, Soujirou turned his back away from the snowy clearing. Jeez, what a thing to say! My God! Away from the unfamiliar yet familiar place where he had known happiness.
さあ、早く帰ろう。青崎は重いし、体も疲れてる。
Let's get back. I'm tired and Aozaki's heavy.
洋館に着いたらあったかいお茶を入れよう、アリス。
How about we have a warm cup of tea once we're back in the mansion, Alice?
Soujirou spoke her name with a smile. Her heart skipped a beat. Ah. Since when did he start saying her name so casually like that? Somehow she managed to nod before beginning to walk again. As he moved away from her, she asked a small question to his back.
重いって私より
Is she heavier than me? Aoko was a bit taller than Alice, so naturally she would weigh more. But Alice wanted it to hear him say it anyway. Not one to disappoint, Soujirou answered without missing a beat.
ああ、数値的に言うのならアリスより10キロ増しぐらい。
Definitely. By about 20 pounds.
そう。青子が聞いてたら大変ね。
You do realize if Aoko knew you had said that, she'd kill you. Judging by Alice's tone, she was probably going to tell Aoko later.
意地が悪いな、アリスも。
You're kind of mean, Alice.
Yes, I'm glad you realized that just now.
それに、さっきのは本人の名誉のために死者誤認してたんだぞ、一応。
You know, I did round down too, just to be nice.
His attempts at being kind had likely drawn him closer to his deathbed.
ダメかな。
No good, huh?
He asked nervously. Alice could not help but crack a smile at his innocence. However, she was not used to smiling in front of others, so she turned away and walked into the woods. From Soujirou's perspective, she was storming off in a mood.
なんだ。
What?
友達の悪口で怒るなんて、やっぱり仲はいいんじゃないか、青崎。
Hello, Tyra. Welcome to the stream.
She must really care if she's mad at me for saying that about you. Right, Ozaki?
Soujirou rushed to catch up with Alice, gently carrying Aoko along the way. Though the prince lacked the courage to kiss the sleeping princess, he had at least saved her and was bringing her back to her castle. Dang it. Despite what he had been through, he did not look like your typical hero. Still, in this story at least, he most certainly was. A Tale of the Star. I assume this is going to be the final chapter. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the witch on the holy night. Yep, we have just a skosh left. Six days passed. The weather in that time sunny and clear. Damn, that looks like a fucking photo. Like the art in this game is so good. My God. Ah, the main theme. It's all happy now. It first came to Soujirou's attention when he was resting with Alice after spending all day cleaning.
Soujirou, 今日ぐらいはバイト休みでしょ?
You're off work today, right, Soujirou? Aoko asked him in her usual manner immediately upon entering the drawing room. It was already nighttime, approaching 9 o'clock. The afternoon sunny weather had changed abruptly, and thick clouds were visible out the window. Awoken from his nonchalant daydreaming, Soujirou tilted his head to the side and replied calmly.
休みだけど、どうして?
I'm off today, but why do you ask?
これから実家に戻るから用意しておいて。
Oh. She's gonna see her grandfather, I guess. I'm making a trip home in a bit, so get your things ready. Soujirou's peaceful expression had grown tense the moment she appeared. Unsure of what any of this had to do with him, he stole a glance at Alice, who was seated across from him. However, she looked surprised as well, her eyes widening ever so slightly as she studied the other two.
用意って何の?
Huh? What things?
He replied timidly, struggling to hide his bitterness at Aoko for waiting until the cleaning was finished before deciding to show up.
用意は用意よ。1時間ぐらい歩く山の上だから、寒くない格好をしろって言ってるの。
Your things. Get them ready. It takes about an hour to walk up the mountains, so make sure you dress accordingly. Sojirou's expression only grew darker. The way she spoke made it sound like
雫くんを連れて行くの。
you're taking Suzuki with you. Alice spoke up before Soujirou himself could manage to say anything. Aoko brusquely asked if there was a problem.
私だってあんなとこに行きたくないわよ。
I don't even want to go.
けど、今日ぐらいは顔を出せってうるさいから、本当に顔だけ見せに行くの。
Wow. Oh my god, she's taking him to meet her parents. But they keep asking me to stop by, so I'm gonna make a brief visit.
宗十郎を連れて行くのは単に暇だからだけど。
I just thought I'd bring Soujirou along since he's free. That's all. She says She stood tall, as if challenging a roommate to oppose her decision. Alice's face was dour as she gazed back. Soujirou's irritation was obvious as well as he glared at Aoko. Oh, there should be a comma there. That's why. Of course, their unspoken objection had no effect on Aoko in the slightest.
それじゃあ、班になったら出かけるからね。
We're leaving at 9:30. Having said all she wanted, Aoko disappeared from the room once again. Alice and Soujirou could only sit in dumbfounded silence.
アリス、青崎の家って遠いのか?
Alice? Is Aozaki's house very far from here?
He stared at the clock as he spoke. There were only 10 minutes to go until half past the hour.
場所的には三崎市の端よ。ここから電車で4駅分下った小さな山の中にあるわ。
It's at the edges of Misaki City, 4 stops away by train up on a small mountain.
あなたの住んでいたところに比べれば丘でしょうけど。
Though it's more like a hill by your standards, I'd imagine. Her expression had not changed, but her voice made it obvious she was in a poor mood. His complete obliviousness to this fact only showed how clueless he truly was.
そっか。今から行ったら帰ってくるのは明日になるね。
Gotcha. So if we leave now, we won't be able to make it back till tomorrow.
帰ってこられたらの話だけど。
Yes, if you even make it back. Each spoke to themselves as if there were no one else in the room. Those about to embark on a journey always feel a sense of dread, and he was no exception.
青崎の家ってお化けでも出るのか?
Is Aozaki's place, like, haunted? With ghosts?
Alice did not say anything in response. All she did was raise her eyes from her teacup to stare wordlessly at him.
アリス?
What is it, Alice?
This question caused her to suddenly avert her eyes. Something seemed off about her today. The minute hand on the clock was about to reach 30. bothered as he was by Alice's odd behavior, Soujirou had no choice but stand up from the sofa and take his leave.
それじゃあ行ってくるよ。
Well, see you later.
Soujirou hurried through the drawing room. Alice kept staring at his back until he was gone. By the time he had changed in his room and returned to the foyer, Aoko was already waiting and ready to go. Furthermore, Alice was at her side, and they were deep in conversation. Ooh, she's jelly, jelly, jelly. She abruptly ended their chat as soon as he descended the stairs.
それじゃあ行きましょうか。アリス、留守番よろしくね。
All right, let's head out. Keep an eye on things while we're gone, okay, Alice? She responded with a simple nod. There was determination in Aoko's step as she strode to the door. Next time, Soujirou flies back to England with Alice to meet her mother. Oh, jeez. Soujirou made to follow her as he donned his coat in the foyer.
ほら、ぐずぐずしない。
Hurry it up! Her words made him pick up his pace, but he stopped suddenly, as if he had remembered something. He looked back at Alice as if to say he had left the heater on in his room, or some other important matter.
それじゃあ行ってくる。できるだけ早めに帰ってくるから、寝ないで待ってるんだぞ、アリス。
What is he doing?
Bye. I'll be back as soon as I can. But try to stay awake this time while waiting for me, okay?
Alice blinked in shock at his unexpected request. Aoko looked on with arms folded as Soujirou stood waiting for a response. Bewildered, Alice finally returned to the drawing room without uttering a single word. Her only response had been the very smallest of nods. They were headed for Akikashiro train station. The night had grown late. It was nearly 11 o'clock. A train full of tourists went by in the opposite direction before the two finally arrived at the tiny station. The surrounding area was incredibly dark and quiet. In fact, it felt less like a station and more like a small boat dock. Soujirou had a hard time imagining that many people came here, even during the day. It had only the absolute bare minimum necessary to greet the odd visitor. There were no convenience stores in sight, only fields and the streetlights that dotted the road. Aoko placed her ticket in front of the attendant who sat sleeping in his chair and skimmed the train schedule. The last and only train back departed just after midnight. Having confirmed her options, she headed hastily out of the station. The elderly station attendant was all alone. He had dozed off with both the heater and television still turned on. As he slept, his face looked completely content. The night felt vast in its darkness. The small train station had been rendered obsolete now that cars were commonplace. It was like a lone star shining in the night sky. Soujirou thanked the attendant for his service before stepping out into the darkness. The man must have looked after the station for decades at this point, and would likely continue until the day he died. Outside the station, there was little in the way of human development. It could scarcely be called a village. There was not even an area out front for cars and buses to drop people off. Damn. Their eyes were met only with a panorama of flat fields, interlaced with a lattice of footpaths. Though surely a sea of beautiful green in the summertime, during winter it was more like a wasteland. However, electric lights that felt strangely out of place illuminated one side of the dark vista. The cold only grew harsher as the night wore on. It relentlessly snatched all sensation from the fingertips. Aoko thus kept her hands in her pockets as she strode through the paths among the fields. She could feel the ground below through her shoes. Its softness was unlike that of the city, and for her it brought back countless memories. She had walked this path every day in middle school, after all. Damn, seriously? Jeez.
あの山の真ん中あたり、家の明かりが見えるでしょ。あれがうち。
Damn, she lived in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I thought she lived in like a regular neighborhood. My god. This feels even more isolated than Alice's mansion. Jeez. See the lights of that house in the middle of the mountain? That's my place. She pointed out a mountain that rose up before them with her finger. The journey looked like it would take about 40 minutes on foot. For now, they remained among the rice fields, though their journey would continue beyond them. Aoko followed the path bathed in light without looking back. The path seemed to hang before them like a pier leading out into the darkness of the ocean. The closer they got to the mountain, the darker it became. All signs of the hustle and bustle of human life were absent. The dark stillness made the moon overhead seem dazzling. Its light transformed the mountain path from blackness into mere shadow. Though dark, their surroundings were not totally indiscernible. The seemingly unending path stretched on and on. Soujirou, doing his best to match Aoko's pace, stole a momentary glance at the profile of her face. Did she not feel frightened in this quiet darkness, even with the moon to light the way? Her expression showed no outward signs of discomfort as she strode on in silence. In fact, this was how she always looked when she was trying to act tough. He only had a month experience with her, but that much he knew. There was obviously something on her mind she couldn't ignore, no matter how small it might be.
青崎でもこういうところは怖いのかい?
Are you scared to be out here in the dark?
She responded to his sensitive question with a surprising nod.
こんな夜道を怖がらない人なんて普通いないでしょ。
Who wouldn't be scared walking on these paths at night?
我慢できるか無視できるかの2つだけよ。そのどちらもできない人は夜に出歩かないわ。
All you can do is endure it and ignore it. If you can't do either, then you really shouldn't be strolling around in the middle of the night.
なるほど。それじゃあどうして自分を連れてきたんだ?
I see. So, why'd you bring me?
言わなかった？こんな何もない道を一人で歩くのは時間の無駄でしょ。退屈しのぎに話し相手が欲しかったの。
Didn't you hear what he said earlier? All this walking in the middle of nowhere is a waste of time. I wanted someone to talk to, so it'd go by faster.
そういえばそんなことを言ってたな。
Yeah, I guess you did say something like that.
Ooh. Soujirou fell into silence. He was not bothered by what she said. Rather, he was desperately searching for something to say in response. Ooh. Their path through the night continued onward. Only the sound of their footsteps could be heard. Eventually, Aoko was unable to endure the silence any longer, despite her best efforts.
宗十郎、退屈しのぎに何か話してよ。
Talk about something, Soujirou.
参ったな。話すようなことはないんだけど。
But I don't have anything to talk about.
He felt clueless and ashamed. He had been searching unsuccessfully for a topic throughout their awkward silence. Shocked though she was, Aoko let out a gentle sigh. At least for a moment, his simple earnestness was enough to make her forget all about her troubles.
バカね。嘘でも何でもいいから、とにかく話をすればいいの。別に面白い話なんて期待してないから。
Don't be stupid. Make something up if you have to. Doesn't even have to be interesting. Anything'll do. Her blunt retort was not entirely honest. She would surely scold him if he dared to lie to her. Soujirou said as much, reminding her of how she had claimed to hate lies. Naturally, she did not bother responding.
仕方ない。話はないけど聞きたいことならあった。
Damned either way, I guess. I don't have anything else to talk about, but there is something I want to ask.
何でもいいならそれもいいだろ。
You said anything goes, right?
Ooh, boy. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Is he gonna be like silly or is he gonna say something romantic? Come on, come on, come on, come on. A slight scowl crossed her face at his suggestion. But it lasted only a moment before she returned to her previous calm state.
ま、それもいいか。どうせもうすぐ忘れるんだから。
Alright, go ahead. He'll probably forget as soon as we're done anyway. She muttered her reply without making eye contact. Their destination in the mountains remained hidden from them, revealing not even a hint of its form. It had bothered him ever since it had bothered him ever since that night. What was the truth behind it all? And how would the two sisters' drama unfold? Find out next time on Mahoyo! Soujirou decided to profess Aoko for details.
それでトウコさんは何がしたかったんだ？
So what was it that Miss Toko wanted to accomplish?
あれ、言わなかった？私への復讐と根源に接触することだって。
I thought I told you. She wanted to get revenge against me, and then there's this whole coming into contact with the root thing.
根源の渦については前に少しだけ話したでしょ？
We already talked about the swirl of the root, remember?
確か魔術の源だっけ？
It's like the source of magecraft, right?
そう。そして最終目的でもあるわ。
Right. And also its end goal.
根源の渦っていうのは全ての英知が記録された位置、全ての事柄が決定された場所。
The place where all knowledge is recorded, where all matters are settled.
そこを見て、触れて、理解できれば 不可能なんて言葉すら作り変えられる。伝承によって呼び名は様々だけど、要するに神様のいる位置なんでしょうね。
To see, touch, and understand it makes even the impossible possible. It has gone by many names over the years, but you could say it's where God lives.
神様っていうのは八百万的なものじゃなく、
God. So there's just one then? Not a bunch like in Shinto?
たまにそういうこと言い出すから厄介よね、あんたは。
There you go again with your annoying questions.
そりゃ万象に宿る神様もいるでしょうけど、これはその前。そういうのを決めた大前提みたいなものよ。
There are gods in everything around us. But there's also one big underlying force that existed way before all that.
そんなものの入り口がどうして岬にあったのかは知らないけど、祖父はそれを発見して新しい魔法を作り出した。
Who knows why an entrance to the root is located in Misaki? But my grandfather discovered it and was able to create a new kind of magic.
でもその後に根源への道を閉ざしちゃったのよ。
But then he closed the way to the root.
魔法さえ成立したのなら神様への道は消えるべきだって。
He said if this path to God enabled us to create magic, then no one should be able to allowed to go there.
多分私たちが生きてる限り解放する気はなくて、トーコはそれが腹立たしかったんだと思う。
He has no intention of opening it again as long as we're alive, which made Toko crazy mad.
たとえ力不足で取り込まれても道があるのなら試すべきだ。自己の消滅を恐れるぐらいならそもそも魔術なんて学ばなかったってね。
She said that the path is meant to be explored, even if we aren't strong enough to handle what we find. And that you shouldn't be studying magecraft in the first place as long as if you're afraid of getting killed.
でも祖父は礎になろうとする一切認めなかった。
But my grandfather didn't appreciate her ambition.
もっと強力な跡継ぎが生まれるまで根源の解析は許可しない。跡継ぎに魔法は譲るけれど根源への道だけは閉ざしていたのよ。
He refused to allow anyone to investigate the root until a stronger heir was born. He's willing to pass on true magic, just not the way to reach the root.
トーコの気持ちもわかるけど、私は祖父に賛成だわ。
I understand where Toko's coming from, but I agree with my grandfather.
根源なんてものに興味はないし、第一、今まで一人も生還者がいないんだもの。それが本当に神々の座なのか保証もないし。
I don't care about the root in any way. To this day, there haven't been any survivors. There's not even proof that it's really the seat of the gods. Her mood gradually soured as she spoke, and towards the end, it sounded more like a list of complaints. Despite her words, however, part of Aoko was unable to agree completely with her grandfather's decision. Soujirou took note and followed up with a question about something he found strange.
青崎、一人も生還者がいないってどういうことだ？
What did you mean about how there haven't been any survivors?
根源に触れて帰ってきた者は一人もいないの。世界規模でね。
I meant that no one's ever come into contact with the root and returned to talk about it. Not a single person in the entire world. How do you know that's what it is then?
触れれば即消滅。人間程度の魂だと触れた瞬間に元に戻るとか、根源に取り込まれるとか。
Coming into contact with it means instant death. The soul of a mere human simply returns to the source, so to speak. In other words, it gets sucked into the root. So it's like a droplet of water, basically falling into the ocean. By touching the ocean, that drop ceases to exist because it's become indifferent. Then you need some kind of micellar structure around it, or use a drop of oil.
なんで どんなに歴史に名を残した魔術師でもあれにだけは触れていないわ。せいぜい間近にして大急ぎで自分の魔術を安定させた程度だもの。
That's why not even the greatest mages in history dared to touch it. Just coming close is enough to send them frantically trying to stabilize their magecraft. Soujirou furrowed his brow at the oddness of it all.
それじゃあどうしてそこが
Yeah,
そういう
okay.
場所だってわかるんだ。
Thank you, Soujirou. That's what I was saying.
And how does anyone know so much about this place?
そりゃ中に入って伝えた人がいたからでしょ。
Oh. Because there is one person who went and made it back.
でも生還者はいないって。
But you said there was no survivors.
だからそういう人たちは中で神様にでもなっちゃったんじゃない？
Yeah, because everyone who's gone in turns into God too. Hello, Oddjars, welcome to the stream. She spoke very matter-of-factly, as if it was only a minor detail about something that had happened the other day. Yep. Okay, so yeah, it is like a drop of water going into the ocean.
そうなればこっちに帰ってくる必要はないでしょうし、もしかすると単に帰ってこられないだけかもね。
So why would they even bother coming back to our world? Or maybe they can't, who knows?
ま、神様って位置づけが私たちが思っているようなものとは思えないから、あまり幸福そうには思えないけど。
Being God is probably totally different than what we imagine. I doubt it's very fun. Whether they succeed or fail in their endeavor. Those who reach the root become unable to return to the normal world. Maybe the first person to become God felt lonely and spread the word about the swirl of the root in order to have others join them there. Or maybe they had so much work to do as God, they just needed some help. None of it made any sense, no matter how long Soujirou thought about it.
トウコさんはそうなりたかったのかな。
You think Miss Toko wanted to become a god?
まさかあの人は単に知りたかっただけよ。
Oh, please. She just wanted to know the truth.
その後に残された人たちのことなんて興味はないの。昔から目標に没頭しても成果を愛する人じゃなかったから。
She doesn't care about what happens to the next person. That's just how she's always been. She just focuses completely on her goal and doesn't worry about what comes next.
正直なところ、そのあたり姉貴は突き抜けてるわ。
She's a bit on the extreme side, to be honest.
本当の天才ってのはああいう非人間のこと言うのよ。苦労して作り上げたものの、その後を全く考えないんだから。
Geniuses always have an inhumane side to them like that. They work and work on their masterpiece without so much as considering what'll happen once it's complete. Soujirou wasn't sure whether she spoke out of disgust or respect.
でも、そのくせ面倒見はいいっていうか。
But she's still pretty considerate to others in the moment.
未来のことは考えないのに、今あるものには何にでも興味を持つんだから。
Since she doesn't worry about the future, she focuses all her energy on the here and now. Aoko praised her sister's genius even while cursing her every being. Though her tone of voice was perfectly pleasant and lacked any audible animosity.
そうだね。それにトウコさんはこっちの方が好きみたいだったから。
Right. She does seem like she'd rather stay here.
As soon as he spoke, he was struck by the meaning of Aoko's earlier words. I don't care about the root. He realized that she must feel the same way as Touko. Still, there was one thing that had been bothering Soujirou regarding Touko.
そういえばカエルにするって一体。
What did you mean about turning her into a frog?
He ventured to bring up the topic no one had been talking about since it occurred. It had always been seemed taboo to bring it up, so the sense of transgression made him hesitate as he finally sought the truth.
一体も何も言葉通りの意味だけど。
Exactly what it sounds
も
like.
ともとルーン使いには変身術がある分、トーコにはかかりやすかったみたいよ。
Rune mages can shapeshift, so apparently that made her especially susceptible to the curse.
いや、そんな当然のように言われても。
That sounds like a bigger deal than you're making it out to be.
His stomach hurt from the stress of not knowing how to respond to her cavalier attitude.
まあ、それでどうやって。
I mean, how is it even possible to turn someone into a frog?
He did not particularly want to ask, but it was the natural extension of his current line of inquiry. Aoko stared straight ahead as she lectured him, completely ignoring the pained expression on his face.
2種類あって、精神を入れ替えるのか、肉体を再編成するかね。
So, there are two ways to go about it. A mind swap or a reconfiguration of the person's physical form.
精神だけを入れ替えるのは簡単な分、すぐ元に戻れるわ。
Swapping minds is easy, but the effects don't last long.
夢を見ているようなものだし、ちょっとしたショックで元の体に意識が戻ってくれるから。
It feels like you're dreaming, and then there's a little jolt when you return to your body.
厄介なのは肉体そのものを変えてしまう方で、この場合、術が切れるまで元に戻るのは難しいでしょうね。
Changing someone's physical form is more tricky, and it's hard to revert back before the spell ends.
私がやったのは、その再編成の方みたい。
I use the physical reconfiguration approach, I guess.
多分塩基配列を組み替えるんだろうけど、もうちんぷんかんぷん。魔術が科学的な説明するのもナンセンスだし。
Something about reconstructing the base DNA sequence. I don't know, it's all gibberish to me. You can't explain magecraft with scientific jargon anyway, right? Aoko spoke as if it were not her own actions she were discussing. Apparently she had been borrowing magecraft from her future self and could not use any of it in the present. Her actions had also created a looming threat that would come back to haunt them in 10 years' time. Trying to comprehend even a fraction of all the intricacies involved made Soujirou's head hurt.
あと数年後には青崎はそんなこともできるのか。
But several years from now, you'll know how to do stuff like that?
末恐ろしいな。
Pretty scary if you ask me.
Soujirou was being completely honest with her. In response, Aoko only stared ahead blankly, eyes open wide. She looked like she wanted to scold him.
アリスならそれぐらい今でもできるわよ。
Physical reconfiguration would be no problem for Alice even now, you know?
なんだと。
Wait, what?
やっぱりね、そんなことだと思ってたわ。
Damn. I said you should take her more seriously, remember?
前にも言ったでしょ。あんたはあの子を甘く見てるって。
You really never listen.
アリスの部屋のもろもろの人形はあの子に逆らった執事たちの慣れの果てなんだから。
You know those dolls in her room? They're all that's left of people who opposed her.
まさかアリスはそんなことしないぞ。
Surely, Alice would never do something like that.
いやいや、これが私もね、付き合い始めて半年はそう思ってたんだけどね。
She's got to be playing with him, right? That's exactly what I thought for the first 6 months or so. The light, cheerful laughter that followed only made her statement all the more chilling.
青崎、その冗談笑えないぞ。
It's not funny to joke like that, Ozaki.
あら、私は笑わせる気なんてこれっぽっちもないんだけど。
Do I look like I'm trying to make you laugh? She was clearly making fun of him at this point. Unable to determine how serious to take what she had said, Soujirou's mood and expression only grew darker. His obvious dejection made Aoko smile with satisfaction.
ま、あそこであんたの言葉にうなずいちゃうあの子がそこまで魔女になれるはずもないんだけど。
She shouldn't be able to be a witch in the first place if she agrees with what you're saying. She gazed at him as they walked, her chest warm with emotion. The path they strode had shifted from the footpath through rice fields to a road climbing the mountain. It was surprisingly wide given the mountain's small size, though with no shortage of trees on either side. The forest road led them up to the top of the mountain. Wheel marks were etched in the dirt underfoot. No doubt the Ozaki family came through here by car. The only light at the summit was that of the moon and stars overhead. The bald mountaintop lacked streetlights and houses as well as vegetation. Near the top, the incline of their path began to even out. The road ended abruptly at a house, still a good way away before them. It was too far to make out the shape of the building, but Soujirou assumed it was Aozaki's house based on the warm light coming from the windows.
ところで、君が家で団らんしている間、自分は何をしていればいいんだろう。
So, what should I do while you're busy with your family bonding time?
Soujirou had a hard time imagining Aoko engaging in any sort of family bonding time, but with effort, he could imagine that it must be a joyful time for her. He did not want to ruin that by intruding, which is why he brought up the subject now. Ooh, we have no music. If he had to, he would not have minded spending the night camping outside. Her reply was not what he had expected.
君はうちの離れに行って祖父に会うの。
Ah, I knew it! I knew it! Oh my god! You're gonna meet my grandfather.
多分そこで今日までの記憶を消されるわ。
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. He might be able to erase your memories of everything that's happened. She stopped dead in her tracks as she spoke. The frank and open attitude she had shown all night was now gone.
Eh?
Huh?
Oh boy. Oh, I knew this was gonna come up at some point. Oh god. Soujirou was too shocked to take another step forward. He turned back to look at her, having been walking a little ways ahead, and realized she was not joking. Hello, Dustflight, welcome to the stream. He stood still, taking in the glaring silence. Naturally, Aoko was the first to resume speaking.
驚かないのね、あなた。
Nothing surprises you, does it?
いや、驚いたけど。でも、それは初めから決まっていたことだ。そうか。それで青崎は俺を連れてきたのか。
No, I'm surprised. Of course I am. And now I understand why you wanted to bring me along.
退屈しのぎは本当よ。それとは別に、祖父があなたを連れてこいって言ったの。
I wasn't lying about wanting someone to talk to, though. It just so happens that my grandfather also told me to bring you to see him. Soujirou nodded in acceptance. He was as quiet and unchanging as the night around him. Aoko found it thoroughly irritating.
それじゃあ行こうか。立っていると寒い。
Well, we should get going then. It gets cold when you stop moving.
宗十郎
Soujirou. Aoko's voice stopped him in his tracks as he was about to resume walking toward her house. Are you sure you're okay with this?
記憶を消されるってことは今までの1ヶ月がなくなるのと同じなのよ。
Damn. She's asking him. If he erases your memory, it'll be like this whole month never happened. Soujirou murmured in understanding. The thought of returning to his old self and forgetting about Aoko, Alice, and the mansion altogether felt like giving up a treasure that he had discovered. But he didn't feel that he was unable to let them go either.
確かにそれは嫌だな。青崎と知り合ってからの1ヶ月は楽しかったし、アリスとも約束したばっかりだし。
It would definitely be bad. It's been a fun month since I met you. And I just made that promise to Alice too.
でも、青崎が消えるわけじゃないんだろう。冬休みが終われば、また学校で会えるじゃないか。
But it's not like you'll disappear. We'll still see each other at school once winter breaks over, right?
There was no answer from Aoko. She did not tell him that he was not the only one who would be losing their memory. What? Oh, are you serious? Intervention by her grandfather would also erase her own memories of Soujirou too. Once it was done, they would both most likely never even speak with one another again. Each would become just another random student at school. Even if they did happen to meet by some lucky circumstance, things would not be the same as they were now. She could not deny that a small part of her was going to miss him.
そう。なら行きましょう。
Right. Let's get going. Damn. She rationalized her feelings away instead of processing them, and set off once more toward the house. Soujirou followed along at her side. It was a matter of several minutes before they reached their destination. She was irritated to see that the expression on his face looked exactly the same as it always did. Forgetting their time together was sad for her, if only slightly so. But it did not seem to bother him in the least.
そりゃね。平気で自分の腕を叩き折れるやつにそんな繊細なこと期待していないけど。
Okay, oh yeah, she does remember this, because this was before she resurrected him. Guess you can't expect much sensitivity from someone who has no problem putting themselves in harm's way by breaking both his... Halfway through muttering her complaint, Aoko suddenly remembered. Or rather, she realized something. Something about the one-time werewolf killer before her. And the mystery of who Soujirou Suzuki really was. What? What?! The older version of herself that night had memories and knowledge of Soujirou beyond what she knew now. She knew something about the seemingly average boy's mistakes. Why he was able to do what he did, and why he was raised in the mountains in the first place. Oh god. A cat must have done something. God damn it. I'll be right back. Oh, fuck. Everything's fine. Yep, no, it's nothing too bad. It's fine, it's fine. Okay. It's actually something pretty funny. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Oh my god, so that means her future self still knows Soujirou and solved the mystery. Oh my god! She had always wondered but never had a chance to ask him about it until now. Once her grandfather was through with them, all those questions she had about Soujirou would be gone too. There was no point in asking right before they had their memories erased. But then again, she might as well if she was going to forget everything anyway. This was her only chance to demand the explanation for his contradictory behavior.
待って。私も最後に一つ聞きたいことがある。
Wait. There's one thing I want to ask you before this is all over.
あんた、山でどんな生活を送ってたの？
What was your life like when you lived in the mountains? What were you doing there? Her question stopped him on the spot. She had never seen him make such a pained expression.
つまらないよ、そんな話は。
Why do you want to talk about something so boring?
面白い話は期待してないって言ったでしょ？
I already told you I don't expect you to say anything interesting.
どうせ私も宗十郎のことは忘れるんだから、それぐらい話してくれてもいいんじゃない？
I'm about to forget everything you say, so just humor me on this one, okay? Her words and demanding gaze caused him to lift his head in surprise.
忘れるって、青崎が？
You mean you'll forget too?
当然よ。あんたが忘れても私が覚えているんじゃ意味がないでしょ？お互いが忘れなくちゃ人と人の関係は立てないわ。
Of course. It would be pointless if I remember everything. We won't be able to make a clean break unless we both forget.
言ってこいで公平じゃない。
It makes sense when you think about it.
なんでそんな顔するの？
So quit looking at me like that. Soujirou's hand shot up to cover his mouth in response. He had no idea what kind of look he had been giving her, but he had a feeling it had been pretty pathetic.
そうか。青崎も忘れるのか。
So we'll both forget.
そこまでは考えていなかった。
I wasn't expecting that.
ええ。そして私はあなたとは会わなくなる。断定はできないけど、まず間違いなくね。
Yeah, so we won't see each other anymore. You never know, but most likely not. Thus, this would be their last conversation. The way she spoke made it obvious, even if he had been unaware of what awaited him. Soujirou might see her walk by at school and feel a desire to talk, but they would have no reason to interact. Even if he tried to strike up a conversation, he knew she was not the type to bother much with other people. More importantly, he was not the type to strike up conversations in the first place. Not the way he had been a month ago, at least. That was when he finally realized how cruel it could be to forget something. Not only would he forget what they had done together, he'd not so much as know her name or even be aware that she existed. Even if he felt strangely drawn to her, he would never understand why. Even if some lucky twist of fate brought them together, things would never be the same. Their walk that night was no less than a funeral for them both. He would essentially kill the person he knew as Aoko Azaki, and she would kill the person she knew as Soujirou Suzuki. Afterward, nothing would remain.
だからその前に聞いておきたいの。嫌だって言うなら、あとはこのまま家まで直行するだけだけど。
That's why I wanted to ask. But if you don't want to talk about it, we can just go straight inside instead.
それは寂しいな。
That would be sad.
くだらない話だけど、 会話がないよりはマシだろ。
Okay. I guess it's better than not talking at all. But don't blame me if it's boring.
Here we go! Muttering under his breath, Soujirou set off toward the house once again. This time it was Aoko who matched his pace. There were only minutes left before their path came to its end. Their cold air turned their breath into white puffs that hung frozen in the dark night. Looking back on their conversation later, Aoko would think it seemed more of a confession than anything else. A confession of what? For Soujirou, however, it was like one long, poorly told fairy tale.
山での暮らしは別にどうということはない。毎日同じことを繰り返して毎日同じことを教えられた。
Life in the mountains was nothing special. We were taught and did the same exact things every day.
Huh.
そこでは明日はないんだ。
There never was such a thing as tomorrow.
始まりが朝で夜になれば終わる。一日は次の日にはつながらない。だから明日を夢見ることもない。
Things started in the morning and ended when night came. The days weren't linked in any way. So I never had any hopes or dreams about the future.
次の日を楽しみにするなんて言葉はこっちに来てから知った感覚だったな。
Well, that's really sad.
Looking forward to the next day was a totally foreign concept until I moved here.
初めは馴染めなかったし、馴染む気もなかった。
It was hard to get used to at first, and I didn't particularly even want to.
けど、みんながまた明日と満足そうに口にする。いつの間にか、そういうものを夢見るようになっている自分がいた。
But everybody kept saying, "See you tomorrow," with such confidence. Before I knew it, I started dreaming about tomorrow too.
Soujirou kept walking as he spoke. He stared straight ahead as if telling a story to the night itself, not once turning to face Aoko. For her part, Aoko was utterly silent. She knew it was pointless to do so much as nod or ask a question.
目が覚めていつもの一日に戻って、ふと気がつくと、昨日までいた誰かがいない。
Huh.
One day, I woke up and got started like any other day. But then I realized someone whom I'd seen every day was suddenly gone.
訪ねてみると、夜に体調を崩したらしい。たまにね、眠れなくなって家から出て行って、それっきりな人もいたんだ。
I asked around, and apparently they'd started feeling unwell during the night. Sometimes people who can't sleep go out on a walk by themselves, you know?
見なくなってしばらくした後、崖の下で見覚えのある遺体を見つけたこともあった。
Ah.
A while later, people discovered a familiar-looking corpse at the bottom of the cliff.
今にして思うと、それは異常なことだ。
Now that I think about it, that was pretty strange.
集まって暮らしていれば、そんなことにはならなかったのに、自分たちは関わらなかった。一日で完結する世界だったから、他人は必要じゃなかったのかもしれない。
It never would have happened if we had all been living together. But no one was bothered by it. Maybe people didn't value each other since everyone lived on a day-to-day basis.
山では食べるものも少なかった。飢えないためには、他の人が寄りつけない場所に行くことが多くなる。その途中の道でいなくなってしまう人も多かった。
There wasn't much to eat in the mountains. To avoid starvation, we often went to places most people wouldn't go. Lots of people died on the way, too.
山では誰も他人から奪うことを考えなかった。
No one would even dream of stealing from others in the mountains.
口にできるものを探すとき、気を配る相手は犬だの熊だのだけで、人を気にすることはなかったんだよ。今はその逆になりつつあるけど。
Damn. When you're out searching for food, the only things you need to watch out for are dogs and bears, not other people. Here, things are the other way around, though.
ともかく、 生活の半分はそれだけで済んでいた。
Anyway, half her time was taken up with just that.
Soujirou continued to stare straight ahead. He did not seem troubled by his memories. To Aoko's ears, it sounded like he was describing a place no one in their right mind would want to live, as if it were perfectly normal. It was almost as if he missed it. But from that point onward, he slowly began to show more signs of distress as he spoke.
もう半分はまあ身を守る手段を教わっていた。
The other half of our time was spent learning how to defend ourselves.
学校の授業に比べたら些細なことだ。単に自分の体はどう動くものなのか、生き物はどう動くものなのかをよく見てよく考えろと言われた。
It wasn't much compared to classes at school now. They just told us to notice how our bodies move and notice how other animals' bodies move and had us think about it.
単純な反復運動だ。小石を蹴ったり森の中にこもったり、まあそんな意味合いのことをやっていたんだ。
We repeated some simple drills, kicking stones, surviving in the forest, stuff like that.
あの決まり事が始まると朝も夜もなかった。
Once we got into one of those sessions, the night and day no longer mattered.
外の変化に気持ちを向ける余裕はなくて、ふと気がつくと随分長く食事をしていないなんてのもザラだった。
We didn't have the energy to notice the time of day.
It feels like they were training warriors or something. Like what the hell?
Sometimes you go a long time and realize you hadn't eaten anything for ages.
あ、ちゃんとご飯はもらえたよ。そういうのの後は。
I mean, we did get food eventually. So don't feel bad for us or anything.
あれが何のためだったのかは今でもわからない。
I still have no idea why we did that stuff though.
ただ山で暮らしていくには役に立ったし、そもそもあれだって生活の一部だった。
Soujirou, it feels more like you're as part of a cult. Like what the than a village. Like what the hell is going on?
But it definitely made living in the mountains easier, so I just accepted it as what we had to do.
生きるってことはそうすることだって思ってた。こうやって息をして歩くためにはあの繰り返しは当然のものだったんだ。
I thought that was how life was for everyone. It felt natural and even necessary to do all that training.
宗十郎、それは。
Soujirou. His tone was totally indifferent, but the strangeness of it all forced Aoko to interject. He glanced at Aoko and noticed as if to show, nodded as if to show he knew what she was thinking.
何かがおかしかったんだろう。あれは身を守る知恵じゃなくて、もっと違う用途のものだった。
I know it sounds strange. The training definitely seemed like it was for something more than just self-defense.
たまにいなくなる知り合いは山の土になったんじゃなくて、
Oh shit!
他の場所で他の理由で消えた場合もあったんだろう。
Damn, it feels like it was like part of some fucking facility. But then how is he able to leave so casually? Is he like a sleeper agent or something? Like what the fuck is... I don't know.
I have a feeling the people who sometimes disappeared actually left the mountain for some other reason.
でも考えることさえなかった。
But I never thought about any of that then.
精神の隙間を知れだの、命の勝ち負けを知れだの、意味を汲み取らないまま鵜呑みにして、当然のように繰り返した。
I accepted it all without really knowing what was going on, or having any qualms about it, without knowing whether people were even still alive.
それがどう評価されるものなのか、俺にはわからない。
Maybe some people would judge me for what I did. I don't know.
ただ知らなければ。
But I do know one thing.
外のことなんて知らなければ、悩むことなく自分はそこに居続けられたと思う。
Oh. Was he able to just leave? Like, did he escape? Wait, did he leave or did he escape?
If I hadn't learned about the outside world, I probably would have stayed there without a care in the world forever.
あなたの嫌いな生き死にの真似を続けて。
You would have kept living on the verge of death like that? Even though you didn't like it? He didn't respond to her question. From then on, they continued walking in silence. Aoko could not stop thinking about all the contradictions and absurdities in what he had said. The imbalances in his education, for one. His knowledge of the basics of human life was thorough, yet he knew next nothing about modern technology. He always said he was not good at socializing, but he seemed accustomed to talking and discussion. His upbringing could not have happened that way by chance. It was most certainly an environment purposely constructed by some third party. Aoko had no idea what purpose that purpose could be, or who the third party was, though. Why would anyone want to create someone with a background like Soujirou's? Was it all part of a grander plan? Or was there really a place deep in the mountains where it was normal to live like that? He had asked about this once in his home in the mountains, apparently. When he expressed his confusion, an elder had taken him aside, saying,
This is just how things have always been around here, boy. There's no reason to keep doing it, but there's also no reason to stop.
With a laugh, the elder chose a new identity for and life outside the mountains for young Soujirou, and sent him off to live on his own. Is he like is he a sleeper agent? Aoko's home loomed at the end of the path. It was a generic home without any real distinguishing features. It seemed as if a house from town had been picked up and dropped here. One could imagine the residents were peaceful people who engaged in farming and raising animals in their spare time. Gazing at what lay before him, Soujirou finally opened his mouth to answer Aoko's earlier question.
自分にはできなかった。知らなければよかったのに知ってしまったから。
Oh, wow. Oh my god. So he actually does not want to go back at all. Oh my god.
I would have. If I'd never learned about the outside world, I would have stayed there forever. But now I know. And I can never go back.
その後は簡単だ。
Coming here made everything simple.
泣けない鳥はいらないと言われた。
Someone once told me that no one wants a bird that can't sing.
今まで疑いもなくできたことを意味を知っただけでできなくなったものはいらないと。
It's the same when you learn the truth about something you never questioned before. Once you know the truth, you just don't want it in your life anymore.
どんなに山にいたくてもできないのなら意味がない。
What the hell?
No matter how badly I want to be back in the mountains, I can't live like that anymore. There's no point even trying.
俺は意味を知った瞬間に意味を信じることができなくなった。だから山を降りたんだ。
What is things? What is things?
Once I learned that things meant something, I couldn't just blindly believe things anymore. That's why I left the mountains.
What is things though?
けれど、どうなんだろう。
But who knows?
そこではそうすることだけが全てだった。
That was all I'd ever known.
そうすることだけしか教えられなかった。
It was all I'd ever been taught to do.
だから
That's why.
There had only been one problem with his life in the mountains. Himself, for having questioned it. Yeah, he was totally in a fucking cult. What the hell? Oh my god. Wow, he's lucky they let him leave. And didn't just murder him. What the hell? This is the murder is wrong thing, isn't it? A bird that can't sing. Because he didn't want to kill people. He is so lucky they didn't just straight up gank him. My god. They just let him go. If that's the case. It was all his mistake. He muttered as much to himself, his voice dripping with criticism. In Aoko's opinion, the world he described was in a sense perfect. The best environment to achieve a goal was one in which all elements extraneous to that goal have been removed. As long as the people involved have no concept of morality, they would consider the immoral to be correct. No, even correctness would be a foreign concept. Only one thing was for sure. The world Soujirou had come from was frozen in time. That was what made his tragedy possible. A world of wrongdoing and mistakes had created a human riddled with mistakes as well. Soujirou understood that it was wrong, and yet he still thought it beautiful even now. Regardless of what the truth behind it might have been, he considered that world perfect. He only blamed himself for having learned what existed outside that world. Just earlier, he'd said that he would have been happier.
知らなければよかったのに。
How did he learn, though?
If I'd never learned about the outside world, I would have just stayed there forever.
He surely felt the weight of the sinful words he spoke more deeply than anyone else. That's why he still wondered. What had gone awry? Whose fault was it really? He did not want to answer these questions alone. He wanted her to state it clearly for him. There was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity before she spoke.
私には答えられないわ。
I can't answer those questions for you. Her reply came quietly. She had an answer, but she couldn't tell him. It was a struggle for her to tell such a bold-faced lie. The boy reflected deeply on what she said. He knew right away that her words were coming from a place of kindness.
そうだな。君の最初の優しさが今でよかった。
Yeah, I understand. Now I can appreciate your kindness during those early days.
A pleasant look floated across his face, at which Aoko could only scowl.
何よそれ。
What do you mean?
まるで普段から優しくないみたいじゃない。
I haven't been any nicer to you than I normally am.
青崎は優しくないじゃないか。
Well, you're not very nice normally, are you?
She found herself unable to offer any protest against such a blunt statement. It was because she knew he was correct.
そうね。優しくなんかないわね、私。
I guess you're right. I'm not very nice. Soujirou smiled in response to her vaguely sad consent, as if to say,
Told you so.
His indulgent smirk arose from a sense of personal pride in the situation. It was both warm-hearted and uncomfortable, causing Aoko to instantly regret her question. If only she asked about something else, something random that did not matter, then she never would have ended up in a mood like this. Only a few minutes remained until their path came to an end. I wonder if you could summon Soujirou as a servant. I think it's only famous people though, right? And he's the opposite of famous. Surrounded by a wooden fence, the house resembled an inn for passing travelers in winter. The light spilling out from the window brought to mind images of a lively dinner table. Quite the opposite of the current mood between the two.
ごめん。悪いこと聞いちゃって。
Sorry. I shouldn't have pried. Aoko stopped at the entrance to the yard. Did she feel compelled to apologize despite... No, because it was their last conversation. Soujirou's only response was to shrug it off.
話途中なのにね。
There was still a lot to talk about. He looked up at the house they had hiked so far to reach, his breath still hanging white in the air. All signs of gloom were gone from Soujirou's face as he nodded.
自分も話してみてようやく振り向けたと思う。だから青崎には感謝してるよ。
I think talking about it helped me reflect on the past. So I appreciate it.
それに、これはもう終わったことだ。
Besides, it's all in the past now.
続きを話すのはまた機会があった時にしよう。
Maybe I can continue the story the next time we have a chance to talk.
He turned his head to face Aoko with an ephemeral smile. He was his usual nonchalant self, the same as every other day. Aoko prayed that day would never come. For her own peace of mind, but also for the well-being of this very unique boy.
もっとも、そんな機会はもう来ないか。
There probably won't be a next time. Then she pointed in the direction of a cave hidden by a small forest on the other side of the house.
あそこ、ちょっとした洞穴があるの。そこに祖父がいるから、行って。
Oh God! My grandfather's in the cave over there. So you should go see him.
本当はもっと違った話が聞きたかったけど、仕方ないか。魔法は12時になると切れちゃうものだしね。
If you're not going to remember, then you should at least kiss or something. Oh God. I actually want to ask about something else, but whatever. Spell will wear off at midnight anyway, right? A sarcastic grin spread across her face as she spoke. And so Soujirou walked off, totally clueless as to what fairy tale she was referencing. Oh god. Ah, fuck fairies! The forest felt so far from the house to Aoko that it was like a different place on Earth altogether. In reality, it wasn't far at all. Only 5 minutes away.
さよなら、しずきくん。
Farewell, Suki. She said it to herself as she watched him simply walk away without turning back. Though he wasn't meant to hear her words of parting. They apparently reached his ears anyway.
ああ、じゃあまた明日、あっちのどこかで。
Right. See you around town tomorrow.
He raised his hand in farewell and then disappeared into the forest. No. What's gonna... As soon as she was sure he was gone, she turned her gaze to the sky. That night, the stars were even more beautiful than the moon. He had been looking at her fondly over only moments before, and now he was gone into the forest with only a brief word of parting. It did not feel real. And with that, she finally understood, if a little too late to matter. She understood who had truly been the strange and unusual one. Anyone could have ended up behaving like Soujirou, but not many could keep talking and on the way he did. Everything he had done was now perfectly sensible in light of his former life in the mountains. As a magician, she was supposed to make miracles happen. But he had arrived at a miracle of his own through the trials and tribulations of following what he considered to be common sense.
素手で熊を倒すなんて私にはどう転んでもできないし。
I could never take down a bear with my own hands after all. It was pretty impressive. Soujirou's own magic was so mundane to him that it made him depressed to talk about it. But even so, it was the kind of brilliance only possessed by humans. She pulled her eyes back down from the starry sky and began to walk. The lights were on inside the entrance and the door was unlocked. Aoko rolled up her sleeves and checked the time. 1 hour left until midnight. She had just barely managed to satisfy her parents' request to visit before the end of the year. Damn! Placing her hand on the door, she took a deep breath. She promptly stifled the faint affection and sadness that she had been feeling. It was her first time back in 2 years. Upon entering high school 2 years ago, she had begun living on her own. How time flew by. For some reason, the memories began to race through her mind. There she stood, one hand on the door, reflecting on the past. Once the door was open, she would be staring at her future instead. Her hand holding the doorknob began to move. She was met with the warm scene she expected, though strangely different than that of her memories. It was comforting to encounter something familiar after being away for so long. And so it was with small unspoken gratitude that Aoko returned to her home. Without stopping to ring the doorbell, she called out with a smile, "I'm home!" Oh god. Damn, what a cave. Holy shit. Oh, these are library books. Freaking Library of Ruina over here. The moment Soujirou stepped inside, he was struck with a strange feeling of familiarity. Oh, the very first scene! It was not mere nostalgia either. No, it reached further back into the past. It was a feeling from far beyond what he could even imagine. He was reminded of someone, but he could not remember whom. Perhaps he was only reminded of himself, or perhaps of the old man before him now in the cavern. It appeared to be an old man anyway. Soujirou could not make out any details beyond a vague outline. As far as he could tell. What the fuck happened to the grandpa? Or is he like disguising himself from Soujirou? The figure did not seem to have anything in the way of a face capable of making expressions. All he knew was that the smoke-like figure before him was the one Aoko called grandfather.
I want to thank you for everything you did for my girls.
Though hoarse, the old man's voice was powerful and rang throughout the cavern. Oh, it was fate!
It was fate that we would meet. Tell me, what is it you wish for?
望みはないです。でも、聞きたいことは一つあります。
I don't wish for anything. But there is something I'd like to ask you.
どうして二人を争わせたんですか?
Why are you making those two fight each other?
それは私の外で起きた物語だ。答えることはできない。
I cannot provide an answer to that. Theirs is a story outside my control.
そう仕向けたのはあなただと聞きました。
I heard you were the one responsible for it.
星の巡りだ。彼らは相入れない才能を与えられ、あのような形でしか噛み合えない人間だ。私の意図に関係なく、共にいればどちらかがきしみを上げた。
The stars are to blame. The two are given incompatible talents. This is simply how they responded to one another. Whenever they're together, they find a way to fight, not through any design of mine.
だが、確かに衝突を避ける余地はあった。あれらの意志が凡庸であったか、あるいは破格のものであったのなら、多くの不順に耐えただろう。
I used to keep enough distance to avoid conflict, though. Perhaps the things they fought over were more innocuous. Or perhaps they were very serious, in which case they must have suffered immensely.
君のように自己の崩壊が見えていても共存を尊ぶように。しかし娘たちはそれを選ばなかった。
You value a spirit of coexistence even when you can see they would harm you. But the girls chose not to follow that path.
彼女たちが争うのは彼女たちのせいだって言うんですね。その原因はあなたにあるのに。
Oh my god, wow. Look at him.
So you're putting the blame on them, even though the reasons for their fighting all lead back to you.
そうだ。あれらの争いはあれらの性を表すもの。原因というのなら、私などゼロに等しい。
Indeed. The girls fighting is a reflection of their lives. I take zero responsibility for the reasons for which they do it.
ゼロ？形がないということですか?
You mean there's zero physical proof of your involvement?
形ではなく、 意味がない。
No. The claim is simply meaningless.
私という起因から起こり、娘たちが一つの命を得た時点で、私は舞台から消え失せた。その後の因は常に娘たちから生じたものだ。
What?
私の介入はない。
But that doesn't make any sense. You trained them in magic and you talked to them all. What do you mean left this era? Do you time travel somewhere else? Where the fuck did you go?
When the girls were born, the only real line of causality you can draw between us, I had already left this era. I have given rise to all events since. I played no intervening role.
今回どちらが時間を終わらせても、あるいは両者が終わらせても、私には無価値だった。
So are you not even really here? Are you communicating from another time? What?
If either of them reaches the end of their time in this realm, or even if they both do, it matters not to me.
Damn. What the? What do you even care about then?
いや、元より無価値だ。
In fact, I have never considered that to be of importance.
私に価値を与える命はまだ生まれていない。
A life, a title deserving the value I can offer, has not yet come to be.
あれらがどうなろうと、やるべきことは変わらない。
Whatever may happen between the two of them, it doesn't matter, doesn't change what I have to do.
青子が生きていても死んでいても跡継ぎを作るということです
Damn.
か。
Wow. It's just like Soujirou's upbringing. Kinda. Damn. Wow. Like he didn't seem to care about them at all.
You mean all you care about is getting your heir? No matter whether Aoko lives or dies?
おそらく
Oh my
こ
god.
の体が消えないのはそういうことだ。
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Jesus Christ.
That's why my body has yet to disappear.
Steamy energy that filled the cavern even made Sojirou's head reel. The moment Aoko and Touko were born, their grandfather seemed to have completely forgotten that they were his granddaughters. It was hard to imagine a satisfactory Yazaki heir ever being born. No amount of power would satisfy the old man. He showed no signs of compromise or restraint.
青子はそのために過去を捨てたのに
Oh my god, Soujirou! Oh, he's so angry for her! Oh my god! Oh, they care about each other so much! Oh!
I assume you know Aoko threw everything away for this.
There was nothing but silence. However, the short moment of quiet would only occur once. The unreadable outline of the old man grew blurrier still. Long ago, a child wandered into the cave, her karma empty. The old man automatically granted her request, born from innocence and ignorance. He was a magician who had given up his ego in order to extend his own lifespan, and he did whatever he could to help the child. It had been an incredible coincidence to happen that day. Faced with the sin that she had invited, the child had glared at the old man with tear-filled eyes.
Everything will be lost. It will happen, completely and without warning. Thanks to the failure of a nobody. Thanks to you.
He had declared. What is that? Is that like a prophecy? Is that like a prophecy of Aoko causing the end of the world or something? Because that's what it sounds like. What the fuck? The child threw a tantrum at how unfair it all was. The magician claimed that was merely the way of the world. The child stood up to him. Shut up, old man! And then... Yes. And then... The child ran around in tears, trying to make the old man pay for the cost of a life. At the cost of all lives.
それは間違いだ、少年。
You're mistaken, boy.
Perhaps that's how it happened.
捨てたのではない。
She didn't throw anything away.
それを美しくするために、あれは生きているのだ。
She lives to make her past more beautiful.
That role had likely come to an end long ago, however. The old man's appearance seemed to change before Soujirou's eyes. For just a brief moment, he wavered in the air as if in a haze.
君の過ちを正そう。娘たちは私というものをよく分かっている。ともすれば、私本人より理解しているとも言える。
Let me correct your error. The girls understand me very well. In fact, I think they understand me better than I do myself.
私が娘たちの人格を考慮せぬように、娘たちもまた私というものの人格を認めていない。
I am not concerned with who they are, and likewise they don't appreciate who I am.
祖父さえいなかったのならという考えさえないだろう。
No doubt thoughts of my absence have ever crossed their minds.
彼らはそもそも争い合う自分たちを一度も卑下はしないはずだ。
They've always been so proud in all their fighting, unwilling to debase themselves.
君にその関係を分かれというのは酷だろうな。
It's cruel to expect you to deal with all of that, though.
尋ね事は終わったようだ。
You seem to be through asking questions now.
次は私の番だ。
It's my turn.
君の名前を知りたい。
What is your name?
Soujirou answered the old man's question. The smoky face seemed to frown, quivering ever so slightly.
意外だ。君は孤立しているというのに、複数を示す名がついているとは思わなかった。
Oh shit. So there were 9 other people in that fucking village, weren't there? Oh boy. Are they gonna be like bosses in like a future game or something? Like, my god.
How unexpected. You say you're all alone, and yet the meaning of your name implies the existence of multiple, bearing the character for 10.
似合わん。全く似合わん。
It doesn't suit you. No, not at all.
だがそちらでは正しいことだ。不釣り合いな場所にいるのなら、不釣り合いな名が必要だろう。
But I think it is correct. When in a place of imbalance, one needs an imbalanced name to match.
希少ではあるが、やはり無価値だ。
Jeez.
Rare, yes, but also worthless.
すべてを肯定する諦めは死に由来するものだろう。続くものがない以上、一代限りの才能は無価値だ。
Resigning oneself to affirmation stems from a will to die. A one-time talent in a single generation means nothing if there is no one to continue the family line.
This guy is horrible. What the hell? My god.
我の行く末に影響を与えた君に興味を持ったが、
Fuck off.
失望した。
Jesus Christ, he's not even human anymore. Like, if he ever was. God. Kick his ass, Soujirou.
I was interested in the way you were able to influence Aoko. But ultimately, you did not meet expectations.
無駄な時間を過ごしたようだ。
It seems the time was spent for nothing.
今は結ばれているが、いずれ離れていくのは変えようのない結末だ。
You are bound together for the time being. But it is inevitable that you will go your separate ways.
では立ち去りたまえ。
Now, be gone.
私は死者に用はない。
The dead.
二度と会うことはないだろう。
I have no use for the dead. We will not meet again.
Well, he did die once, that is true. Everything grew blurry. Soujirou's memories began to fade. No! He had been in conversation without any answers. An encounter without any significance. Now vanished completely like a dream. The air was cold. The sky beautiful. The evening sky at the end of each day looked different from the last. Each sunset could be seen for one day, and one day only. Though the sky may not look dramatically different to the human eye from one day to the next. Every day we wake up a new person, and forget the beautiful sights, the moments of heartbreak, and all the other fleeting feelings that seemed so real the day before. Simple statements such as these felt all the more profound in the still air of the mountains, more bone-piercing than the winter cold itself. Soujirou stared up at the sky, as if he'd forgotten when and where he was. Aoko's look of stunned surprise brought him back to the present.
なんだ、早かったな、青崎。
He remembers her?
Alzaki. That was fast.
It didn't work? What happened? Oh, she's all surprised! Soujirou turned to face Aoko, who had just stepped outside her family's yard. At first she had been too shocked to move or speak, but she quickly regained her composure and marched forward. She continued until she was standing right before him, with an intense scowl on her face. Soujirou slouched instinctively, bracing for impact. He had not the slightest idea what it could have made her so angry.
なんでまだここにいるのよ。
What are you still doing here? After I'd finally managed to convince myself that things were over. She was obviously irritated with him in any case. The anger would have to subside before she could decide whether she was happy or sad to see him. Humans get angry when things do not go the way they had hoped.
さっきから10分と20秒も経ってない。
It's hardly been more than 10 minutes.
なんでこんなところで突っ立ってるのよ、あんた。
How can you be standing here? It was supposed to have taken an entire day for her grandfather to erase his memories from the past month. She had been planning to let her grandfather handle all the details, and yet here Soujirou was, staring dumbly at the sky. He's no astrologer. He just likes looking at the night sky. Bombarded with Aoko's unspoken emotion, he proceeded to explain himself.
あの老人からの伝言だけど、
He gave me a message for you.
記憶の消去は君の役目で人に頼るな。だそうだ。今日呼ばれたのは単に悪口を聞かせたかっただけらしいよ。
Jeez. He said you shouldn't go around. Oh.
He said you shouldn't go around asking other people to erase my memories. You should do it yourself. Apparently he wanted me to come just to have someone to complain to.
Oh my god. So they have more time. I guess his callousness works out in their favor. For oh my god, wow. in this case. Oh my god. Well, that's wonderful. Hearing this, Aoko finally began to feel like herself again. Oh my god! Despite having been ready to shout the punishment only a few moments earlier, she now felt quite calm.
そっか。人に任せるなんて確かに私らしくなかった。
Well, he's right that it's not like me to expect someone else to clean up my messes. The intense look in her eyes slowly faded to her usual mildly irritated expression. It relieved Soujirou to see her like this. She was finally back to her normal self.
納得いったなら行こ
If that's enough for you, then let's get going.
う。急がないと最終電車に間に合わない。
We'll miss the last train if we don't hurry.
With that, he walked off without waiting for an answer. Oh, that's a big relief. Aoko stared at his retreating figure for a brief moment, before quietly cursing him under her breath and following after him. Their descent back to the station was much easier than the way there. That's how it always is. It always seems to take much shorter going back home than going to someplace. I guess that's one way to know where you truly think of as home. A sheet of darkness spread out below them. There in the middle of that ocean of black was a single light, the tiny glowing station. They walked for some time in silence. Aoko recalled their earlier conversation and felt she had been too naive. She should have avoided all this serious stuff if this was how things were going to end up. Soujirou, meanwhile, was thinking of nothing at all. just like usual. For him, the silence felt quite natural, while for her it was awkwardly uncomfortable. Suddenly, Soujirou blurted out the strangest thing without thinking.
アリスにはお餅を買っていってあげよ
We should pick up some mochi for Alice on the way back.
Aoko's eyes grew wide. Her pupils reduced to mere points. Aoko had so many questions going around in her head. She wanted to rail at the paradox that was Soujirou.
お餅が何？
Mochi? Why?
う。お土産。アリス一人で待っているんだから喜ぶと思う。
As a gift. We left her all alone at that mansion. We should do something nice for her. It'll make her happy.
Aoko raised her hand to her head in concern. Unprotected by the warmth of a pair of gloves, her slender fingers were white from the cold.
あの子にはそういうの逆効果だけど、宗十郎がやる分には大丈夫か。
I don't think she'll be happy, but maybe coming from Soujirou it'll be okay? His seemingly selfless attitude came in handy sometimes. Alice would most likely accept his gift without making a scene.
そうね。確かにアリスはこういうの根に持って口に出さずに恨んでるたちだけど。
Gotcha. She's the type to resent something like that and hold a silent grudge over it, though.
また、なんだってお土産がお餅なの？
Why does the gift have to be mochi anyway?
だって食べたことなさそうだろ彼女。
Well, I get the feeling she's never eaten one before.
All Aoko could do in response to such a simple-minded observation was nod in agreement. The image of Alice eating mochi popped into her head, and suddenly the prospect of getting back to the mansion felt a little more exciting.
あんたって本当に無心よね。
You really are a regular space cadet, you know that?
そういえば前から不思議に思ってたんだけど、いつからアリスと仲良くなったの？そのきっかけが私にはわからないんだけど。
Speaking of which, since when have you and Alice been on such good terms? Did something happen? Aoko peered at him the way she would a strange specimen, as he took a deep breath and launched into an earnest explanation.
大きなきっかけとかそういうのはないと思うけど。
I don't think there's any particular time I could point to when it happened.
強いて言うなら初めて話した時かな。もっと確かになったのはロビーで話した時だろうね。
But if I'd had to, I'd say it started the first time we spoke. And we got a lot closer after talking that time in the foyer too.
たったそれだけ？
That's it?
ああ、親しくなるっていうのはそういうことだろ？
Yeah. Getting to know someone is all about little moments like that. Wouldn't you agree?
Soujirou seemed to find her question odd. The way he and Alice communicated went beyond words. Aoko could only assume that was how he did it.
そういえば、初めからアリスって呼び捨てだったものね、あんたは。
Come to think of it, you've always just called her Alice and not by your surname.
そうだっけ？よく覚えていないけど。それより何を怒ってるんだ青崎。
Have I? I don't even remember now. More importantly though, why are you so mad?
別に怒ってないわよ、私。
I'm not mad. Her response was slightly cold, but also somehow gentle. They approached the halfway point of the mountain path. The night sky appeared more distant as they neared the bottom, and Soujirou continued to stare absent-mindedly at the stars. Then it finally hit her why his behavior had been bothering her since their ascent. She realized he must be feeling nostalgia. He missed the way the stars looked up in the mountains.
Aozaki,
Azaki?
He spoke without looking down from the heavens.
一つ聞きたいんだけど、君に後悔はあるのかな？
I've been meaning to ask. Do you have anything you regret?
Sojirou's breath was white in the night air. His hands jammed in his pockets. Aoko had the vague feeling somewhere deep inside that it was only a figment of her imagination.
どうしたの？突然そんなこと聞いて。
Where did that question come from?
いいから答えて。聞きたいんだ。
Just answer it. I want to know.
君に悔いはあるのかないのかを。
Do you have any regrets or not?
It was a sad thing to be asked. He would be hurt one way or another, no matter how she answered. But he wanted an answer, and so she gave him one.
ないわよ、そんなの。だってそれをしないために今を頑張ってるんだもの。
Regrets? Of course not. I make a point to live my life with no regrets.
後悔なんてのはね、宗十郎。するものじゃなくて、なくしていくためにあるものなのよ。
Regrets aren't something you have, Soujirou. They're something you get rid of. Soujirou grunted in response. He bit his lip and pushed down on the flood of emotions that rose up inside him. He waved his hand slightly, without actually raising it, as if to shoo away something formless and odorless.
そうか。後悔もなくなるものなのか。
So regrets are just something to get rid of, huh?
Pain was something subtly visible on his face as he spoke, and yet it was so vivid. As much as he wanted to, he did not have the strength to say it aloud. He was not like her, able to speak her mind so readily. Maybe someday. Oh! The sky and the darkness were both far away now. Tonight's grand view, only to be seen this once. He hoped its beauty would remain in his mind forever. But what then of the regrets he had come to hold inside? Of the days he had spent now that now shone like stars in the sky? Would they too be with him forever?
いい空ね。街じゃちょっと見れないな。
Nice sky tonight. It's a much better view than the one from town. Aoko mimicked Soujirou, looking up at the darkness overhead. The stars shone brighter here than in town. The clarity was thanks to the absence of any other lights amidst the darkness. Soujirou stared at her with almost a sense of loathing. As beautiful as the stars were, they were not the real thing, not here.
そうだね。でも、ここでも手は届きそうにない。
Yeah. But they're still too far to ever reach.
Huh? Sojirou's sudden negativity caused her to turn to him in shock. The anger in his eyes had died down now. What is he talking about? Taking a breath, he began to speak as if talking to himself. His gaze never left the stars.
山ではね、青崎。星は本当に手が届きそうなんだ。届かないのは分かっていても、望めばつかめそうなぐらい近いのに。
It's not like this in the mountains. There, the stars feel so close. Even if they're technically too far away to touch, it really feels like you just reach out and grab them.
都会の星はそう思うことさえ許してくれない。
The stars in the city don't give you that feeling.
He was speaking of the sky in its purest state. The starry skies of the mountains far exceeded those of any urban planetarium. Their movement was like the pouring of rain. He spoke of the primal sky, unchanged from the past. The same sky humans had traced with their fingers since prehistoric times. For him, it was a past to which he could never return. A place to which he did not even know the way back.
今まで目に映る全てを山と比べていた。こんな場所は本当は嫌いだったんだ。今でも正直馴染めない。
I used to compare everything here to the mountains. I really hated it then, and I'm still not used to it now.
でもいつか比べるのは街になってしまうんだろう。自分はこっちに降りてきてしまったんだから。
At some point, I'll start looking at the mountains from a city dweller's perspective, I'm sure. The mountains are in my past now.
That was his one regret. He lowered his gaze from the stars and turned to Aoko. Her eyes were unusually hesitant and looked slightly hurt. Was it empathy they showed, or pity? Either way, he was the reason for the uncharacteristic look on her face now. He shut his eyes and nodded in response to her unspoken question.
それは仕方のないことだ。
It's true. I can't help it.
ただ、そうなるのなら、そうなってしまう以上に、素晴らしいものを手に入れないといけない。
But if this is the way it's gonna be, I've gotta make the most of it.
後悔を、いつか、後悔と思わないために。
So that someday, I can stop seeing it as a regret.
There was gratitude in Soujirou's voice as he confessed his feelings. Remnants from the past must one day be released. Loss must be overcome. He had lost it, his everything, the moment she had answered his query.
やめてよね。私の一言でいちいち人生観変えられちゃ身が重いじゃない。
Oh, cut it out! Don't act like I caused some kind of turning point in your life. She smiled weakly and averted her eyes as she spoke these hurtful words. Most likely she was being completely honest, and that she was being true to herself. In that she was being true to herself.
それで祖父と何を話したの？
So, what did you and my grandfather talk about?
あの人が他人に興味を持つなんてすごいことよ。
It's rare for him to care about anyone besides himself. The topic had finally been broached, and yet Soujirou said nothing. An empty reply can be used to buy time. They had nearly reached the flat road at the base of the mountain. The soft earth here would soon give way to the tightly packed dirt of the pass running between the rice fields. But before they got that far, Soujirou came to an abrupt halt. Closing his eyes, he listened carefully. He then gave a firm nod and turned to face Aoko.
おめでとう、青崎。
Congratulations, Sasaki.
What's going on? She blinked, not knowing what to make of it.
何よ、突然。
What's with you all of a sudden? It was a perfectly natural response. The tension melted from his face as he said, "Ah."
新しい年だ。
Happy New Year.
Oh! Ah! He now wore a smile full of joy. Kiss, 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 kiss! Come on! Come on! Dumbfounded, all Aoko could do was stare back at its calm visage. His surprise attack hit her so hard she could hear the shrine bell in Yashidogi ringing in the new year. She had known it was the last day of the year, but not given it much thought beyond that. Come on! And so his succinct words gave her quite the shock. As if the girl who believed in the power of the bell all those years ago had come back.
そっか。午前0時でもう新しい年なんだ。
Oh, right. It's midnight now, so the new year is here. She spoke in a hushed tone as if this were shocking news. At the same time, a slight smile crept onto her face. A new year indeed. She recalled the first time she had worn a full-length kimono. How she had not been particularly uncomfortable or embarrassed, but not especially pretty either. The only pretty thing about her had been the moment she smiled at herself in the mirror. Seeing the warmth in her eyes, Soujirou closed his own in satisfaction. It made him happy to see her like that.
いろいろあったけど、
Well, a lot happened in the past year.
新しい年を君と迎えられてよかった。
But I'm glad to be able to start a new one with you.
With that, he went off, walking off once more. The thought of Alice waiting alone was probably what spurred him into action. Aoko recalled his words as she walked alongside him. The moment he had declared the start of a new year. The way he had spoken so naturally. It made her suddenly feel like they had known each other for years. She could not be blamed for being filled with happiness at the thought. And yet a day would surely come when they would have to say their goodbyes. No, 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 no. Until then, however, it would not do any harm to behave as if they were old friends. No! He was a naive yet incredibly unique young man. As they walked, she wondered how long this feeling of friendship would last. She looked up wistfully at the sky, just the way Soujirou had done earlier on their walk. The end? Oh, still more. Every star was out, without a cloud in the sky. The two strode down the mountain path beneath the stars that lay ever beyond their reach. Yep. Here we go. Yeah, and that's the end of Mahoyo. Oh! Oh, that was a lovely story. I definitely would love a sequel, though. Oh my god. Oh, that was so sweet. I love the art and the atmosphere and everything, and oh my god. A bit slow paced, but I can't complain about that. I'm a freaking Ryukishi fan. That would be like the dumbest thing I could ever say to be complaining about slow pace. Oh my god, I love, like, the art, the music, and the characters and everything. I want more! More! But this feels like I'm asking for Winds of Winter. Based on, what you guys told me before. So, I don't know. I don't know if there ever will be, but if it ever comes out, you can be yep, it's fucking Half-Life 3 Winds of Winter. Yeah. Oh god. Oh god. I'm so sad. So I want to see more. I want to see them get together too. That's seriously. Fucking hell. I hope that the remake, like such a loving remake, like shows that like this has not been forgotten at the very least. Cause this clearly had so much work put into it. Oh, there's Alice waiting for them to come home. Ah! Oh yeah, what do you think is behind Sojirou's color band? Yeah, that's true. They're saving that for the fucking sequel. What is this popular theory? Is it like a hole? It's like I was thinking it's either like a hole or like some kind of tattoo or something. Ah! Oh, and they're coming home to Alice. Ah! Oh. Well, you guys, there's Tight Moon. I don't know. What'll be next is a a game called Iconoclasts that was yep. And there we're back to the title sequence. I'm guessing. Oh wait, what? It was on a lazy Sunday morning that I discovered the book. Wait, what is this? Wow, look at this library. I don't know who this is. Was I an intruder? No, adventurer. Either way, I'd made my way into the forbidden Kwanji Estate Library. My god! That's what it looks like? Holy shit! The book instantly drew my attention as it looked like it had been intentionally hidden there on the bookshelf. It was large enough to double as a shield, and so took great effort for me to remove it from the shelf. Flipping through, I realized it was a grimoire of rune magecraft, and a first edition at that. Surprised as I was by my find, my search came to a halt on the page I've been looking for. Wait, is this Aoko or? Oh, it is. It was the rune for memory erasure that the Nordic gods had once used on a Valkyrie. For minutes, I simply stared at the page where the rune methodology was laid out. Oh, this is a lovely end cap right here. She's gonna fucking just put it right back. And then finally, I shut the book. I returned to the shelf in even harder to detect location than when I initially found it. Hell yeah! That's when it hit me. I'd seen this book before somewhere. When and where exactly had I seen it, though? Yeah. It was when he first invited me to spend time with him. Oh my god! Alice had it with... The girl sitting before me had it in hand at the time. That must have been it. Unable to keep the smile on my face. Oh my god! Alice has had it all! That was the book! I decided to put the book back exactly where I'd found it. It would be most difficult to find when mixed in with the other books on the shelf. However, out of respect for her gracious efforts, I decided to pretend I'd never seen it at all. Oh my god! Wow, what was this, like a giant ass tree? Holy shit. I shelved my discovery, so to speak. That's when I heard the shouting of a familiar voice in the main building. Lately, he seemed to have found his calling as a housekeeper and had taken to cleaning every corner of the mansion. That was all well and good. But there were a few things that were off limits, which neither Alice nor I dared touch. He was the type to open things without asking, which put us all in hot water. There had to have been an uproar when he released the ghost ship that Alice's mother had kept around. They have all kinds of wacky, zany adventures. Catching that little speed demon known as the Cutty Sark had been quite the ordeal. I still felt bad for having to rely on that creepy golden wolf for help. They had all sorts of little mini adventures. And before that, he lifted the seal on the troop of spirits in the basement, which had led to the even creepier people from the church coming to the mansion for an entire week. Look at all these little adventures here that we didn't know about. Going back even further, there was also the time he ventured unsolicited into Alice's room. In the ensuing chaos, I fell into the mirror. We almost ended up in all-out war with Alice. Come to think of it, he really and truly lacked any capacity for learning.
もういい加減にしてよね、あのバカ。
That idiot needs to get a handle on himself! The good mood I'd been up to in that moment was spoiled, and I went dashing out of the library. I imagined coming upon the architect of my troubles standing there in the hallway and giving him the swift dropkick to the face he deserved. As far as I was concerned, that'd be just another fun day in the mansion. And there is our ending. It was right there. Okay, there we go. And so our little secret remained hidden on the bookshelf, likely never to be opened again. And there, that's right, New Year. There all scenarios read. Okay. All right, you guys. We did it. We finished the story. I guess I better put final in the title. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Next time in this slot will be a game called Iconoclasts. Wait. Check the extra. Wait, okay. Oh my god, we got beavers! What the? Oh my god. The bookshelf expanded! Wait. Chaldea? Isn't that a term that has to do with, Wait. Oh, okay. Hello, Alder. We got more. Oh, okay. Isn't that a term from FGO? I've never played FGO, but I've heard that term. Oh, 3 to 4 hours left? Okay. So it looks like we got one more week of Mahoyo then. Some bonus stuff. Okay. Iconoclast left to wait another week. All right, you guys. Oh, that's great. Okay, next time. Let me just put main story finale in the title. Hold on. Oh, this was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, we'll be able to finish it in 2 more episodes then. Oh my god. I just put main story finale. Oh my god. And the lyrics to the ending are in the Discord. Thank you very much. So yeah, if it's 4 hours left, then I should be able to do it in 2 streams. But, so another week. But thank you so much, guys, for joining for the rest of the wonderful main story. Next time, we'll start on these extras. Little bonus stuff. I'm guessing this is the thing with the library here, the what happened today. Oh my god. Why is it called Chaldea, though? I thought that was like an FGO thing. Huh. And so we have this, another ploy, silly little thing, and here's another side story. And here's like a side story. Adventures, it looks like. Adventures of the Home. But yeah, until next time, you guys, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You're all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.